And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win. We gotta go a little Halloween this week, at least one per week, and then when we get to the week of, we'll do a whole bunch. Comes from us from Lucas Rivera, who asked the question, who would win a fight, Freddy Krueger or Ryu? Now, let's get this out of the way right now. This fight takes place in the real world. Freddy is completely effed. Now, the reason for this is, obviously, Ryu is a master martial artist, ultimately ended up beating Akuma in the storyline. Is able to dodge bullets pretty much point blank, can survive an island exploding in his face and be fine, lift tens of tons of weight, has access to the has access to his own ki / chi. I don't know what they actually refer to in the Mortal Kombat world, or the Hadoken, then the Super Hadoken, which is essentially Kamehameha, can use the Atsui no Hada, which is the Raging Demon, which can literally destroy a soul. And he can go even beyond that with the power of Mu or nothingness and, completely annihilate. Basically, it's just the Super Saiyan form for Ryu, more or less. There's no way Freddy, who in the real world does still maintain a little bit of reality warping capabilities, not a great deal, but a little bit. He does still maintain that, but apart from that, there's no way Ryu or Freddy could beat him in the real world. Save sneak attacking him and stabbing him straight through the heart. That is literally the only way he could do it. Or slitting his throat or something like that. And there's no way Ryu, who's a honed, seasoned fighter, would be taken off guard by Freddy like that. So, he would lose to Freddy would lose to him in the real world, no problem. That said, however, in the dream world, and I'm not going to bother going into their backstories because we all know Freddy's backstory at this point. Okay, you want the 1 minute recap of his backstory, kids? Get ready, because at the 2 minute mark, here it comes. I'll probably even do it in under 1 minute. So in 3, 2, 1. He was a child murderer / possible pedophile who was ultimately killed by the families of the victims he killed / molested. He was burned alive in his basement by them, but was ultimately given life again, at least in Freddy's Dead we find that out, by dream demons, and he became basically the Sandman. He lives within the dream world and lives within the memories of him. As long as you remember him and are capable of dreaming, he can always come back. In the dream world, he is basically God. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Dreams are his command. He can warp that world to his own will. And when you die in your sleep, you die in real life. Asleep, you die in real life. Now, someone with a large enough willpower and the ability to lucid dream can at least confront Freddy in the dream world. We can find this out in Dream Warriors, that as long as you are actually mentally capable of lucid dreaming and have a strong enough willpower, you can at least try to combat him in the dreams. But no one was actually able to do that, beat him in the dream world outright, except technically his, was it a daughter, granddaughter in, Dream Wars, Dream Master? Because Dark Child, I think it's Dark Child. Dark Child was the one before Freddy's Dead. Dream Masters was the third one, so the fourth one, I think it was Dream Master. And that's where I think it's his daughter's Freddy is in Freddy's Dead. There was someone who had a connection to him who was actually kind of going toe-to-toe for a little bit, but the problem was he was feeding on people's souls at that point, so he was way too overpowered. That said, also, though, you can drag him into the real world. If you are able to hold him, and wake up, you can bring him into the real world. And as we said earlier, he's kind of limited at that point. He's still, for some reason, a lot stronger and more durable, and it has far higher endurance than an average person. It does in the real world, as we saw in Freddy vs. Jason, where he literally got his arm ripped out of his socket, was getting cut immensely, got an arm got his Freddy's or Jason's fist shoved in his stomach, was still capable of walking that off after being blown away by a giant explosion, and then had his own severed arm shoved through his chest, and was still alive. So, yeah, he's clearly a little bit more powerful than a standard person is, as he can clearly take a bit more damage. And he does have some minor reality warping powers that we see in Season's second one. However, with all that being said, he's still not that hard. You could still beat the living crap out of him regardless. Any normal person who honestly actually knows how to fight and isn't really afraid of this guy, could probably take this guy on in a fight without too much difficulty. It's not like with Jason, where Jason takes my head, the boxer comes up, just starts wailing on Jason, it does nothing, he just takes his head off. So really, the question isn't, could Ryu beat Freddy? Ryu could easily beat Freddy in the real world. The question is is Ryu capable of lucid dreaming and waking up and bringing Freddy into the real world? Because in the dream world, it's more about how long can Ryu last against Freddy in the dream world. And that's a legit question that I don't really have don't have a legit answer to. Now, obviously, we're going to go off my best theory here. So, he goes to sleep. He's heard about Freddy. Freddy attacks him. They're having a pretty solid fight, and Freddy's actually impressed by Freddy, able to kind of play on your fears. Not as effectively as Pennywise, who can literally just pull the fear out of your head telepathically. But he's able to play on your fears. Turns into like Freddy Akuma, a Fred Kuma, if you will. And, he's pushing Ryu to his utmost brink, but Ryu, wakes up from the initial confrontation. He's like, I'm alive. He's like, I'll see you again, bitch. And then, they go at it again. Round 2. Ryu's a bit more prepared this time. He's pushing Freddy. Freddy again goes into Fred Kuma. Only this time, he just grabs him, blasts him, wakes up. And when he wakes up, Freddy's also there. And Freddy's like, what? And Ryu then proceeds to beat the ever-living crap out of him. I believe Ryu is capable, A, of lucid dreaming, but B, also pulling Freddy into the real world. And once he pulls Freddy into the real world, that's all she wrote. Whatever little reality warping Freddy has left on his capabilities, it's not enough to take on Ryu at that point. So I do go in favor of Ryu in this fight. I do. Freddy's a scary individual, and against the right opponent, he is very dangerous. But it's against the right opponent. Again, Ryu, I don't think is the right opponent for him. Not at all. Like when I did no real spoilers here for the Pennywise versus Freddy fight. You can look that up if you want. When I did Freddy versus Pennywise, that was a lot more even of a matchup for very different reasons, because there was a very different character we were dealing with Pennywise. Here, we just got your basic stoic protagonist who overcomes his fears and is extremely powerful. And is a martial artist, so that's something Freddy doesn't really have to deal with very often. The closest he had to deal with that was in Dream Warriors, where you had these individuals turning into, I think, a punk rock chick with blades, a big super powerful dude, a superhero, a magician, like a wizard, all that. Anyway. So I go Ryu in this fight overall, but in the dream world, Ryu could probably last long enough to not be killed by Freddy. That is just my opinion, though. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm dead wrong. Who knows? But until then, that's my thoughts. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Hit that bell if you want to be notified, and I'll catch you folks later.